The Three Rivers Podcast. I am your host, Ed Troop, for July 17th, 2024. Hope everybody is doing well. Coming up on the show today, we have an exciting topic to talk about: the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are 48-48, third place in the NL Central, and we are 7 days from Steeler training camp starting. So, two big topics to talk about. And joining me to discuss is my main man, who's been missing in action for maybe a month and a half. I'm not sure. But look who has joined the podcast again. Brian Carruthers, Yinzer in Chief of Oneburg, joining us here on the podcast. What's going on, my man?
Hi, Ed. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
That was quite the introduction, man.
I'm not missing in action either. I'm not missing action. I'm at Oneburg every day. I got the mill is grinding it out every single damn day. Come on.
That's it, man. That's it. We were both on vacation for a while. We took about a month off. Came back last week. You went to some dinner, so you blew me off with Bill Powerhouse Hughes. So it was just the two of us while you were at some dinner. And here we are, though. We got you back in an important week because we have a very exciting topic to talk about here in the next 30 minutes. Yes. Your Pittsburgh Pirates are 48-48, third place in the NL Central. But before I get to that, let's talk about the All-Star game from last night. What did you think?
Well, I mean, there hasn't been a build-up and hype for an All-Star game in Pittsburgh probably since Andrew McCutchen was in the starting lineup during his glory years, the OG years for the Pirates. So, man, to tune in and see a Pirate in the starting rotation, it doesn't happen often. I went to a bar last night in Bridgeville. It's called Rival. It's the old Walnut Grill. You'd like it. And, dude, honestly, it was packed. Not like a Steeler game packed, but it was packed for an event that people were watching on TV. And there was a legitimate excitement around watching someone from Pittsburgh start that All-Star game. And I thought it was electric. Now, I will say, as soon as Skeens was done, 3/4 of that bar by the end of the second inning had left. But for that moment, they were ready. And, man, I've said it to you. You have talked about it. I think it. I write about it. Pittsburgh still wants baseball in a bad way, and Paul Skeens is living proof.
Absolutely. The AL defeats the NL last night 5-3. Side note, American League has won 10 of the last 11 All-Star games for what it's worth.
Right, but it doesn't matter anymore. MLB changed the rule. The All-Star game used to mean home field advantage for whatever league won that game. And now it no longer means that. So it basically is an exhibition game.
Yeah, with that too, it's always the midsummer classic. It's the highlight of the summer. I remember as a kid growing up, I was just talking to a few people the other day about the home run derby, which I want to get your thoughts on the national anthem at the home run derby here in a little bit. But before we get to that, there was such a big, that Monday-Tuesday combination, home run derby Monday night, All-Star game Tuesday night, was phenomenal when we were growing up. Baseball has kept it traditional as they have all these years. It's still the highlight of the summer.
Yeah, and the last Pirate to be in the home run derby was Josh Bell. He let it, he kind of let us down a little bit. He was on a hot streak that year as well, and then kind of fizzled after the home run derby, unfortunately. And he's gone on to other things. So, and there is rumors we might bring him back, but Bell was the last guy to compete, and that's exciting to have a hometown guy in it. It didn't disappoint on Monday night. It was a lot of fun, and I agree with you, man. It's tradition. It's like summer Christmas for baseball fans, and it does, unfortunately, for like school kids, mark what I think is like the unofficial halfway mark of summer.
Well, let's talk about Paul Skeens. He was the main story of the All-Star game last night. The Pirates rookie pitcher getting the start for the National League. And what always happens, most pitchers only pitch an inning in this game, so no surprises there that Skeens pitches the first inning. Looked great, faced 4 batters, got a few pitches up over 100 as he always does. But the highlight, man, was Aaron Judge coming up to the plate. Your son Sai's favorite baseball player. That's what Baseball Nation wanted to see, right? But you didn't know if you were going to get there. Judge was batting 4th. So if he has a 1-2-3 inning, but he walks the 3rd hitter, Judge comes up. But they don't give us any drama, man. Judge goes after the first pitch. He chops it to 3rd. It's an easy out, inning over.
Yeah, that was a bummer. But I was happy to see that they did get up to face, that he did get up to face Skeens. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I wanted to see Judge hit like an 800 foot home run, like put it through the glass in center field, or see Skeen strike him out. One pitch to Judge was kind of a letdown, but the Yankees will play the Pirates in New York at the end of the season. So there will be a moment, and hopefully it's a moment that matters. The Yankees, of course, are off to a fantastic first start. And the Pirates, like you said, we're in some contention to still play competitive, meaningful baseball. So that game may be important. The Judge versus Skeens battle is kind of like a to be continued, and it may matter in the Bronx in September, which would be really cool.
The other Bucko making the All-Star game, Brian Reynolds. We're going to get to his numbers here in a little bit. He's on a tear going into the All-Star break.
Yeah.
1 for 2 last night. Had a single when he came up to the plate. Again, Brian Reynolds, another highlight on the offensive side for the Pittsburgh Pirates so far this season. He gets into the game, gets a hit. So between Skeens and Reynolds, the Pirates were represented very well last night in Texas.
And how doesn't Reynolds make the All-Star game, right? He's the highest paid Pirate in the history of our organization. He's the only person who really can offensively contribute to the team this year, and he has. But, man, any player on that field last night, unfortunately for Bucko Nation, could represent the Pirates because there's really nobody besides Skeens, and maybe Keller could be debated. Definitely not Jones, definitely not Bednar, or, of course, Chapman. So if you're Reynolds, man, how Skeens aside, the phenom, how could you not make the All-Star game on a team that on average bats 190? I mean, this should be the lowest bar. Reynolds should be an All-Star for the rest of his life as long as he is a Pirate if the trends continue.
I do want to talk about the Pirates here at the All-Star break and what we're going to expect here in the second half with you. But before I wrap up the All-Star game coverage from last night, how about the Home Run Derby Monday night? The sing of the national anthem by that country singer was bombed. She comes out yesterday and says, "Hey, I was drunk. I'm checking myself into rehab. Here we go." I thought of the movie with Lady Gaga and what's his face?
Bradley Cooper.
A Star Is Born. Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
A Star Is Born when he pisses himself at the Grammy Awards and he's embarrassed. You don't see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Then he checks himself into rehab the next day.
See, it's funny. I thought of a different movie when I thought of her, and by the way, a couple things. One, I never even knew who she was.
Me neither.
She looked like a complete mess at that home run derby. But then when you see photos of her, she's beautiful. I mean, You could really tell what a mess she was. I didn't think of A Star Is Born. I thought of the Denzel Washington movie where he flips the plane upside down, and John Goodman has to pump with cocaine, and he's at that hearing with the congressional hearing. He's like, "Truth is, I was drunk. I'm drunk now. I'm a drunk." That's who I thought of. And I thought I was drunk when I was watching it because there's been a lot of bad national anthems, starting with Roseanne Barr, all the way now to Fergie. There's that girl at the NBA who's wears that red, white, and blue dress, and she's horrible. This one was just so unique because her first note was like half barfing. It was like, "Blah." Like it started to blah, and the crowd gasped. I don't know if you heard it or not, but like the crowd, like they didn't boo, they didn't cheer, they were just shocked. They're blah. And now she's going into rehab. So I guess another magical moment of pop culture history happening at the Home Run Derby. Blah.
A star was not born Monday night for that country singer.
And there is a conspiracy theory. I was with my sister-in-law, Leslie, last night. She thinks that girl wasn't drunk. She thinks that she bombed, was terrible, and she's using alcoholism and rehab as a way to, like, make sure no one talks about this anymore. I'm not sure. That was such a bad performance. And when you're drunk, you're normally happy. You might be offbeat, but you're excited. That thing was like slow motion, like barfing. She was hammered. She wasn't drunk. She was hammered.
One of the things I enjoyed was watching the players' reaction because they're so serious. They have their hats on their heart.
Right.
They're doing the right thing. They do what they're supposed to do in baseball. National anthem at a baseball game has always been special, especially on the main stage, World Series, playoffs, All-Star games such as this. But the funny part about it was there. And they want to giggle, they want to laugh, but they stayed on course.
Yeah, Bohm for the Phillies, and who is the other guy? Witt Jr. Like they're up on those pedestal stars, and like they
Yeah,
can't do anything but keep their head down because it's back.
you're back.
Hello, I'm back. Welcome back. Anyway, sorry, sorry. Are we back,
Yeah, I think you
Ed?
keep cutting out, or I'm cutting
Hello,
out.
Ed.
Who's cutting out? One of us is cutting out.
Ed.
You
Hello,
still
Ed.
there? Am I still here?
Hello, Ed.
Brian,
Ed?
can you hear me? Oh, we're having some technical
Ed
difficulties
Troop.
here.
Are we still
We're having
live?
we're
Are we
still
on
on.
one
Can you hear
mic? Are
me?
we still? Or am I drunk?
Can you hear me?
Are you checking yourself into rehab right now? Is that where you went?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ed.
Hold on.
Let's see. Ed? Edward.
I think
Edward.
we're back. Are we back?
Oh, we're back. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened there. I got a phone call and then the whole thing blew up. But anyway, what I was saying about the country singer was there is a conspiracy that she was trying to save her career by entering, but if she does have a serious problem, I hope she gets help. But where was Major League Baseball? Like they not every where are the handlers at where they would say, hey, she stinks so bad of booze. Like maybe we need like our Jeff Jimerson on standby just in case that like we have someone ready to go. But what a mess.
It was bad, man. It was a bad look, but what are you going to do? I just think the reaction afterwards that hey, I was drunk and I'm going into rehab was hilarious. Hey, let's talk about the Pirates. The Buccos at the break, 48-48. A nice job there towards the end, man. They go to Milwaukee, a place where they've struggled over the years. Right before the break, they pick up a couple wins there. They go to play the White Sox at Chicago. Of course, the White Sox, one of the worst teams in baseball right now, but those are series that the Pirates would still lose a game or possibly two back in the day. They sweep the White Sox. They go into the break at 500, 48-48. You still there, my
Yeah,
friend?
I am.
48-48, the Pirates at the break. What do you think so far about the first half of the season, being the Pirates loyalist that you are?
Well, I mean, I think that it was a front-ended schedule. This was the most games I think in MLB history to be played before an All-Star break. So they've been put to the grind. 48-48, a couple games out of first place, a couple games out of the wild card. Dude, don't we just want competitive, fun baseball? Isn't that what you root for? And um, I guess we'll see. The bad news for the Bucks coming out of the great end of the first half is they have a really serious gauntlet ahead of them. They're going to start and they're going to open against the Phillies. They're going to take on the Cardinals. Then they see the Diamondbacks, and then they go to the West Coast. This whole thing. This is normally when the wheels fall off for the Bucks. And I think if you come out of it and you get swept by Philly and then lose 2 or 3 from the Cardinals, well, then you might drop 11 back from the Brewers, and I think you're trying to dig a hole for the rest of July and maybe all of August. So these first 6 games are going to be really important.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. They've played over 500 baseball on the road. That's the good news. 26-24, 22-24 at home. Only a 9-run deficit this year. Offense has scored 402. The strong pitching is only allowed 411. You take a look at that lineup, man. Brian Reynolds has been the man, 284, 18 home runs, 61 RBIs. But then after that, it's a significant drop. The next best player is Nick Gonzalez at 265. And then everyone else is batting 240 or less on the season. So really, you just have Reynolds who's hovering around that 284 mark, and that's about it because Nick Gonzalez hasn't even played the entire first half of the season. So there is still an offensive struggle. O'Neill Cruz batting 246 at the break. But other than that, like I said, man, it's still some offensive woes for this team, though they did score some runs in Milwaukee and Chicago leading up to the break.
Yeah, for sure. They had some good games. They had that significant game against the Mets where they blew them out of the water like 500-0. That was great, all those home runs. So maybe they're starting to pick up the pieces and figure this out. Here's the 2 missing pieces that I think the Pirates were banking on. Here's You want to put up the graphic right now. One to watch. This is one to watch. When we signed Michael A. Taylor, who's been pretty much a bust, Michael A. Failure, as I like to call him, and then, of course, my main man, Rowdy Tellez. We're getting rowdy. Both of those guys hit, I believe, Rowdy hit 30 home runs last year, and Michael A. Taylor hit 25. This year, Rowdy, I think, has hit like 6, and Michael A. Taylor may have 1. And so this was the money that we were banking on, that these guys were going to slowly, in a Moneyball way, change these games for us to win. So if Tellez, now I know what everyone's saying. Like, this sounds like garbage. It's like, oh, if only TJ Watt was 9 feet tall, he would have intercepted that pass. I
Right.
totally get it. But I think that's what they were banking on, that some of these guys were going to produce. The problem is no one has consistently produced. Cruz has been garbage. Tellez has been garbage. You can go around. Ke'Bryan Hayes is maybe the most overpaid player in the last 5 years for us. I mean, definitely for this year with the money that he's making. So if you go around the diamond, Henry Davis is a disappointment. Our catchers seem to be in a decent space coming off the Andy Rodriguez preseason injury that ended the whole season for him. But Bart's done well. Grandal has done well. I guess we're getting delayed back, which who cares? And then everyone's just kind of hanging out. Even McCutchen, I mean, it's great to see him, but he doesn't produce anything. So if everyone can kind of put this together, if we can just become a 250 team by average and not a 190, things could change. On the other side, the pitching has been really great. It's been dominant. And I think we can show that if we would get into some series with teams, I know it's a big jump, but if we can get into some series like the Phillies, like St. Louis, like the Brewers, who we'll see again, well, our pitching may be able to shut down a series, and that can be the big deciding factor. So once you get past that, then it's like, well, let's go into the bullpen. It's been okay. Holderman has been okay, but Stratton has been terrible. The one guy, and I have him right here, the one guy that I think we should consider at the All-Star break now before the trade deadline to maybe see if we can deal them is Bednar right here. There he is, the Renegade. I say discontinue the Renegade, dog. Well, and while the money is there in Chapman's pocket and he's been inconsistent, if we would ever go on a run, I would say that I would rather have a Chapman than a Bednar, because at least Chapman can dig deep on experience, that if we would go to a series that matters, that we'd want him. I think if we get rid of him, every team in the hunt will pay $10 million for him because he has so much experience.
Put the Bednar back up. You got to hit the button and play Renegade. It plays it, right?
No, I can't. No, because Facebook will take us down for copyright. They'll be like, "Oh, you are not Sticks."
Right. Okay. So no
not
Renegade.
Falling for that today. Not falling for that today.
Not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Not going to do it. So yeah, dude, I think that the big question is: are we going to be buyers or are we going to be sellers?
Right.
If we're sellers, if we're legitimate sellers, the Skeen experiment is over. We have Skeens for like 4 to 5 years as arbitration takes hold, and Jones and even Keller were paid him. If we go to sell, they've always said it's a 2 to 3 year process once you're selling. So if we sell, man, this has gone really off the rails. My suggestion is let's drop some dead weight. Chapman's contract, I think, is a mistress. I would keep Chapman and see who's interested in Bednar and then restart. Remember, we have Colin Holderman, who still pitches triple digits, just like Skeens, just like Bednar, just like Chapman, who can come into that role. So, man, if someone wants Bednar or even wants Chapman, we're still going to be okay.
You are watching the Three Rivers podcast or listening on Spotify. Maybe you're on our Oneberg YouTube channel, of course, on Oneberg Facebook. He's Brian Carruthers. I'm Ed Troop. We're glad you could join us. We're talking Pittsburgh Pirate baseball at the break. And Brian, you mentioned it before. NL Central looking like this at the break. Milwaukee in first, St. Louis 4.5 back, Pirates 6.5 back, Cincinnati 8 back, and Chicago 8.5 back. So St. Louis, the Buccos, Cincinnati, and Chicago all really within a couple games of each other. This this division we knew was going to be wide open. It wasn't going to be very strong at the start of the season. And halfway through the season, it has proven that. It is really an open race. I don't think anybody at this point can call Milwaukee the favorite here in the second half. I think any of these teams could possibly win this division. Maybe the Cubs and Cincinnati's a long shot, but I think the Pirates definitely, mentioning some of the things just to build on what you were talking about, if they can make a couple moves, get a couple bats in here, the pitching holds up in the second half of the season, can make a run at this thing.
Maybe. I mean, if we were 8.5 back right now, is there that big of a difference? I mean, if the Cubs play the Cardinals tomorrow and they come out and they win, or on Friday and they win, now they're going to be back right where we are. So someone's got to make a run. We need to consistently see Milwaukee start to lose a little bit, which doesn't seem like it's been happening as far as the first half goes. I don't know if any of these teams are out of it. They're they're a 2-week stretch of winning away from being 5 games out, or maybe even 3. That's why I think it's so important that we can't, as we start the second half, get swept by the Phillies as they begin maybe what looks like a powerful run. They had the most all-stars. I mean, they're just loaded and they won't quit. It would be great as they come here for whatever PNC Park's calling Pittsburgh weekend. I don't know what the giveaway is. Is it the Wiz Khalifa bobblehead?
Is it Yinzer week? Yinzer Palooza?
Yeah, there better be some magic in that Yinzer Wiz Khalifa bobblehead, or at least some weed to like calm down Bryce Harper and those guys' bats, because we're going to need all the magic we can get. But that's going to be a big test for us. So I don't know who's set to start. Maybe the rotation restarts. Do we see Skeens or Jones now? It's been said that he might be out in an additional 30 days, which doesn't help. So I guess we'll see as we go. But I think that series is really big for us to like at least get us fired up again as we start the second half.
Wild card.
Because we're not going to go to the play. We're not going to the playoffs 500. We have to make up some ground on somebody, and it has to start really on day one on Friday.
Yeah, good friend Jason Mesher checks in. He had a Lou Brown quote before, but he's going to answer your question. Pierogi plush giveaway on Sunday. Nothing fuels a Yinzer like pierogies. There you go, my man. It's a pierogi giveaway this weekend. So you are in good shape.
Ed, we have a bobblehead this weekend too?
I think so. I think the Wiz Khalifa bobblehead as well. It's an exciting weekend to be in the Bird.
Yeah, a lot of nice giveaways. But I will say this. What do you look forward to? Competitive, fun baseball is all I think you want. You can't control as a fan, you can't control the wins and losses or what Sheldon's going to do. And we all know we can't control Bob Nutting's wallet, what he'll do. But this is a team that's built to have some success, some fun. And I do have a controversial idea that I'd like to run by you. But if we're going in a different direction, I don't want to derail the Ed Troop show.
No, let's do that. Wrap up the Bucko talk. Now I want to talk a little bit of Steelers with you, and I want to finish up with your statue Oneberg brackets that's been going on too. I want to talk to you a little bit about that at the end.
Well, look, we have Paul Skeens, who did a great job last night. Some people joked online it was his second no-hitter in a row. He no-hit the All-Star game, and he no-hit the Brewers. Was it the Brewers when we were there? Yeah, so 2 no-hitters in a row, which is cool. Listen, I don't know if we're ready to give Skeens that money. We have him under control for 6 years. He has some arbitration, and right now he makes like $375,000 or $400,000 as a Bucko. Next year he's going to make $425,000. We gave him a little bit of money to join us. We don't have to do anything with Paul Skeens yet, but Ed, as a financial planner that you are, as a money man that you are, you've run several baseball teams. You know how this works.
That's true.
Are you ready? Teams. Yes. Are you ready to give Paul Skeens a 10-year, $250 million contract?
No. And I think, like you said, they got 6 years with him. And the ongoing joke in Pittsburgh, too, is, well, he's going to look great in a Yankees uniform in a few years.
I know. Hilarious. But remember, if your kid's 5 right now, that your kid's going to be in middle school when we don't have control over Skeens anymore. So he's not going to be in Dodger blue anytime soon.
And that might be okay. If you could get 6 years of what we've seen out of the last 2 months out of Paul Skeens, I'm going to go ahead and say it, man. The Pirates will be competing for a World Series championship at some point with that type of pitcher. I mean, he's a phenomenal, once in a lifetime type of pitcher that we're seeing right now. Nobody can hit this guy. You and I were talking about it during the Brewers game that, he would have no-hit them if he would have pitched those last 2 innings. Nobody could touch this guy. He gets behind 2 2-0, 3-0 in account. You think to yourself he's going to walk the guy. He doesn't. He comes right back. Couple foul pitches, 103 miles an hour or some junk, and strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. He is unhittable right now. They've compared him. You mentioned David Cone last week when you and I were texting. Dwight Gooden, he's the first,
of course,
first rookie to start an All-Star game since Dwight Gooden back in 1984. Skeens, if you can get 6 years out of him, man, who cares at that point if he goes on and signs somewhere? And who knows, in 6 years, maybe the strategy, I doubt it, but maybe the strategy in the front office is different at that point. And we learned from Barry Bonds in 1992 to 1993, let's pay the guy and let's keep him in the black and gold for the rest of his career. We'll see. I think there's a lot to be said.
See.
Or one more thing, man, Strasburg. Yeah. Strasburg was unhittable early on with the Nationals, right? And then he tore up his arm, and then he was gone. Then he was out. He came back. He was unstoppable for a little bit longer, and then disappeared. Who was the big guy for the Chicago Cubs? Remember?
Kerry Wood.
Exactly. He's another example. He threw hard stuff for a year or two, and then he disappeared. So as much as we want to think that Skeens is going to turn into the Roger Clemens of the current Pirates or current Major League Baseball season, there's no guarantees. You got him for 6 years, which is excellent. Work it out and then reevaluate at that point. But I would not pay him now. Plus, they're not in a position to pay him now.
Why are we not in the position to pay him now?
Because that's their strategy. Their strategy is not to spend that type of money.
Oh, that's right. So, and we have them under control, so we can figure this out. I just think you may see the Pirates maybe behind the scenes, or maybe you see something happen. It's not going to be this end of this year. It wouldn't make any sense. But maybe next year you get another good Skeens year. Here's the thing. $250 million means a lot to a lot of people, especially remember Skeens isn't even making what like most doctors make in the city of Pittsburgh right now. So while he has money on the horizon, maybe the Pirates do say, hey, how about 8 years, $225 million? How about 10 years? Fine. And maybe he blows up, but it's still a bigger risk for the Pirates to give Skeens that money. And, on a modern day front, look at Garrett Cole. He got that money. He has not pitched this year. He missed most of the year already, and now he's trying to work back. A lot of people think that he's pushing through an injury that ultimately he'll need Tommy John surgery for, which is the pitcher game. So as of right now, I don't know if we need to rush just to meet the critics. I mean, clearly what you said, we're not going to do that. We've never done that, but maybe we make an indecent proposal to Skeens. What if we told him 8 years, $211 million. Maybe it's all in the free market. When finally you unchain me, I can go and get this. Maybe, but maybe your arm falls off, or maybe so. It's just a delicate balance between these clubs. And if we do it, I think it's great. But I think there's more risk on the Pirates at this moment to try to sign Skeens to a big deal. Which, by the way, before people bash me, they do not need to do at this moment.
The beautiful thing about baseball for these players is it's all guaranteed money. So he signs that $210 million.
Right.
He's getting that $210 million, whether he pitches one more game or 100 more games.
And look how it all works for the investment, right? So what if you paid him $25 million a year for how many years as a Pirate? Maybe he takes that because for the next 5 years, he's going to make $500,000. Now, maybe he'll go to arbitration and they'll say he's worth a couple million. Fine, it's still not going to be this massive amount of money. Would you rather have $25 million in your pocket, guaranteed to invest, to do whatever with, think about your future, instead of waiting 6 years as you get older, maybe beatable, maybe you turn 27 and you're not throwing the heat that you used to. Maybe you get hurt, God forbid. I don't want that to happen, of course. But Skeens might consider Pittsburgh long-term if we can pay him close to what these other teams do. And if he wants to be here, of course, that's a big part of it. But man, 25 in hand, you can do a lot of damage with. You can go on a lot of dinners with Livy.
So far, he seems to love Pittsburgh. He was just quoted recently that he loves the fan base. He loves the city. His girlfriend, Livy Dunn, seems to like the city as well. She's out there on boats on the Three Rivers with them and going to Kennywood and everywhere else. So, so far so good for Paul Skeens. And Paul Skeens is a little bit different too, man. Remember, this was a guy that was at the Air Force Academy, wanted to be a fighter pilot, then, transferred to LSU, but he keeps talking at the end of his baseball career. He wants to go back and have a military career too at some point. So, Skeens, maybe he's wired a little bit different. Maybe he's like, I don't need those big dollars to go to the Yankees or the Dodgers in 6 years. Maybe he does stay a Pittsburgh Pirate for life. And we put
And
it.
think about this. So, and then also think about this as what to your point is. So, all right, in 6 years we can release them or we can trade them or whatever can happen. 6 years is a long time. What if you got that money next year and you're kind of locked in and you're wealthy and you can do things with it and you're living? Then when you're 32 or 33, that money already paid out. You already get it. You're not going to LA to try to now for the next 8 years pitch to get $300 million after you made shit. Here, now, maybe you make it and then, like you said, disappear, go back to the military, do something. I think it'll be really interesting to see what the future is with the Pirates and Paul Skeens.
He's very young, but he seems like he's wired differently from what I've seen so far. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I actually mean that in a positive way. All the way to where he was on national television was at the Dan Patrick Show where they announced that he was getting the All-Star start, where the manager for the National League, he was just kind of like, great, I'm excited. It was like,
right.
But I mean, you got to love that too, though. I mean, this is a guy that has everything under control as a rookie right now, and he's on pace. And that's my next question for you before we get down the home stretch here. And I do want to talk about the Wunberg brackets, the best statue in Pittsburgh with you here to close things out. But before that, my question for you, my friend, is this, and I mean this in all seriousness.
Okay.
Will Paul Skeens lose a game this season?
Well, I mean, that's a tough question. I don't know if that's even the metric on it, if that matters the most. But to answer that, will he lose a game? Doesn't. I mean, he hasn't even been close to giving up like serious runs in a game yet. So I guess I would say if he could keep this up, then I think he said he's 10-0, 12-0. He had 5 undecided starts.
He's 6-0 and 11 starts. So he has 5 no decisions. ERA in those 11 starts, 1.90 and 89 strikeouts.
The only way he would lose a game, I guess, is if he gave up 3 or 4 runs early, which has not happened yet. And the Pirates don't have the bats to back that up. So if he'd go down 4-0 in the first inning and we lose 4-0 because we can't get a run, that might be what would happen. But I guess – I don't know, if I was a betting man, I'd say things look good. Everyone will lose eventually. But, it doesn't look like – it looks like he's closer to getting 25 no decisions for the rest of the year than he is to get a loss.
Right, exactly. But that's what I mean. As far as a loss goes, I see it more like him going 14-0 with, 14 no decisions, right? And the no decisions will just be basically what you just said. He just won't get the proper run support from the offense, and it'll be
we lose 2-1 or we lose 3-1 or something, and he gets a no decision.
But so far, he's unhittable. Even last night in that All-Star game against him, I mean, those top 4 hitters he faced out of the American League were 4 of the best hitters in the game of baseball right now. And he was calm, collective, and business as usual, man. He was Paul Skeens the entire time. I've been very, very impressed with Skeens so far, that's for sure. Me and everyone else in the United States.
Yeah, right. We're not alone. But, it'll be interesting to see the whole business of Paul Skeens. Skeens will be a 24/7, 365 event as we talk about it, because we're going to want to know what he's doing in the offseason. We want to know if the Pirates are going to try to offer him money. What's he going to do? Where will he go? The Livy Dunn thing, on a very pop culture side note, is only big for him. He'll appear at those LSU gymnastics games. He's going to be everywhere. So the business of Paul Skeens probably will consume Pittsburgh for the next 6 years until or less, depending on what kind of decision the organization makes with him.
Or he goes out and loses his next 6 starts, and all of a sudden he's 6-6, and we're looking at each other like, what's going on? No, I don't think so. I think he's the real deal, and I think he's going to have a strong second half. Now, what will be interesting, I know we just keep talking about Skeens, but it's a popular subject right now. What will be interesting to see, will they shut him down at some point as we get into September, especially if they're not in playoff contention, just to continue to save his arm as we move forward?
To be determined, I guess. It would probably be, where are we in the year and how many games out are we? Are we in the race for something? It would be, man, what a blow to the Pirate faithful that, you have this guy who people are saying is not just the next Nolan Ryan, is basically Nolan Ryan when Dwight Gooden had a baby. And then you'd shut him down if we were in the wild card race or amazingly fighting for the division. I think it'll depend on where we are, but I think it's unacceptable in sports. And I know everyone cares about the arms, but look, this is not an 11-year-old baseball player. This is a professional athlete.
I agree.
And I know the arms are important. The whole goal on this is to win, and I know it's long term and whatnot, but if we are in the hunt, meaning we're competitively trying to get the Brewers or the Brewers are trying to get us, and again, these are all hypotheticals, or we're in the wild card race. I couldn't imagine something would suck the wind out of the professional sports world than we shut down Paul Skeens as we go to enter the wild card game. I couldn't even imagine it.
I agree.
They'd have to fake an injury. I think that would have to be like, no, Skeens is tweaked. I think for PR's sake, they would say, don't say that we're shutting them down. Say that he has light tendonitis and he can't go. I mean, that would be more acceptable than hearing that, we don't want him to compete.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, my best friend, my partner here on Oneberg, the Yinzer in chief at Oneberg, and I can tell everyone that he is Bucko proud. Brian
That's
Carruthers.
right, baby. Bucko proud, baby.
I mean, that was a strong 35 minutes, interrupted by you getting a phone call a few times and losing connection here on the network. But that was a strong 35 minutes of Bucko talk by your man on the right. Hey, we got a few more minutes before we wrap up.
Hey, by the way, do you ever see Pompiani kiss a Bednar bobblehead? It'll happen here. I love him.
The other common theme for 25 years when you and I have done any type of show, whether it was a COVID show, a college show, you're working at B94 and you call me at 3:00 in the morning, whatever it may be, we always drop a pomp at some point during our show. It's like a tradition unlike any other.
Well, look, he's the GOAT. Everyone loves Bob Pompiani. And I actually saw him at a Pirate game a few weeks ago. I can't remember who we were playing. We won, but he was front row. His royal family was there, the wife and the kids and the baby, and everyone was there. And it's just great to see someone just, live a very objective life, not being catered to by all the sports teams, kissing his ass, and he can say whatever he wants.
Did you ask him why he still has not come on the Three Rivers podcast after 100 invites so far here in 2024? We're halfway through the year, and we still have not gotten Pomp on. What an awful, horrible situation for us.
Look, I mean, we have, every news personality, anyone who matters, comments and plays with Oneberg on a daily basis. Pompiani, who is an online presence, we just can't get him. We just can't poke him the right way to get him excited to come on Oneberg. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get him. Didn't Sonny Abata say she was going to text him for us?
I think so. Or David Highfield. We were supposed to get Highfield on the program at some point. So, but I mean, we've had Hodge, we've had Wolfley, we've had Rob King and Andrew Stocky. So we got to check that pump box. Got to check the.
Is this the part of the show where you remind everybody who's been on the show? Is this when you name drop everybody?
And speaking of which, man, we're going to be off next week, but we'll be back on July 31st, and we're going to be live at Steeler Camp. At least one of us, probably me. And we're gonna have a fun day in Latrobe, man. We're gonna do the podcast from Latrobe for Steeler Camp. It'll be exciting as Steeler Camp starts 7 days from today. How about that? They report next Wednesday. Can't believe it. Here we go. Buckle up.
Yeah, this should be an exciting year. I mean, there's been so much turmoil and change. Just to see it now kind of go off the paper and onto television and into our computers and into our life and whatnot, it's really cool. During the All-Star game last night, there was a promotion for college football Saturdays on Fox, and I just thought, yes, here we go. I'm excited for some football, but mainly Steelers. I think it's going to be a really exciting year. And, I mean, if the offseason drama wasn't enough, now we're going to put it to action and see how does Fields interact with Wilson. Do we see that? Is that a controversy? Can Tomlin still control this beast? Will it be out of control? There's only one thing that we know is already a guaranteed, and you already know it, Ed, that Kenny Pickett will not repeat as the Steeler training camp home run hitters winner.
That's right.
He was a back-to-back champion, and now we got rid of him. Who will take his place as the home run hitting champion?
Or him going 5 for 5 in preseason drives for touchdowns, and all of us talking about how great the offense is going to be and how Kenny Pickett's the next NFL MVP, and then they go out and do a goose egg against the 49ers in the first week of the season. So
that still was one of the more shocking games. That was still one of the more shocking games for me. I never thought after all the hype of last year's camp that we were going to come on and blow. But let's call a spade, Mr. Troop. you were always on Team Kenny. You were not on Team Canada. You love Kenny, and you wouldn't mind if he was still here.
No. I lost
Well,
faith in Pickett by the end of the season. I was ready for a change, especially when he basically gave up on the team in Seattle and didn't want to dress and didn't want to be the backup to Mason Rudolph. That's when he lost me late in the season. But
the Mason Rudolph
think,
thing was interesting. And did he turn on us? I don't know. I mean, everyone argues, was that true? And I just saw that who just came out and said that Kenny was a great player for us and he gets bashed. It's unfair. But I don't know. I'm not inside the clubhouse. I'm not Tomlin. Thank God I'm not in there. I have other things to do. Let Tomlin take care of that. I will say this. It didn't look good. So, I mean, whether he was a baby behind the scenes that don't put me in or hated Mason or hated this or whatever, nothing he did ever looked very good. And I know it's about, and so I know that it's a league based on wins and losses and production. That didn't look very good either. So mix that with what the persona was, it all started to smell really bad.
And now he's a Philadelphia Eagle, and Russ Wilson, QB1 going into camp, Justin Fields, QB2 going into camp 1 week from today. Hey, finish us up, man. The statue, Oneberg brackets, it's been active for over a week on Oneberg. There's been some movement, some winners, some losers. Give us a quick update.
Yes, well, it started with 16 of your favorite Pittsburgh statues, and we're asking the question, what if they came to life and battled each other? Right now, we are in the grade 8. We have Mr. Rogers versus Dippy the Dinosaur out in Oakland. That's happening right now on the Oneberg social pages. And then the other battle that you can vote on right now is on the other side of the bracket. The Franco Harris Airport statue is taking on the Pitt Panther statue from whether you want to say the Oakland campus or outside of Acrisure. Tomorrow, we'll have the winners of that, and then we'll have the other two matches, which is the Roberto Clemente statue. A lot of people see this going very far versus the Mario Lemieux statue. Now, remember, Mario does have 2 minions in his statue that we can only assume he uses as well in a fight. On the other side, my pick for this, the Willie Stargell statue will be taking on who is he taking on? Who's Willie taking on? Oh man, wait, I just drew a blank. Willie Stargell beat the Doughboy in round 1. And who does Willie play tomorrow? Oh my God, I'm humiliated.
Is it the snowman from up in Portersville or whatever?
No, the snowman lost.
That was a sleeper.
Lost.
That one
the
was a
lion
sleeper.
Lost. And oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. Guyasata, the Native American from the George Washington Guyasata Peace statue on Mount Washington. Guyasata will take on Willie Stargell. Here's my pick, man. Willie Stargell all the way. He's enormous. He has a bat. And I don't know how you stop this guy.
See, I was under the impression it was a popularity contest. Like, who do you like more? I didn't realize it was a battle royal. Who would win in a fight? That changes my perspective. Now, I got to go back and re-vote. But make sure you log on to oneberg.com, Oneberg on Facebook, Oneberg on Instagram, all the socials, YouTube, and vote often, my friend. It's been an exciting bracketology with this, and excited to see the results here in the next week or two.
Well, thank you for the airtime, Ed. I do appreciate it, and I
want to thank you.
Everyone for
you run
Thank
Oneberg.
you.
You're giving me the
airtime. I want to thank everybody for listening and playing along, and more fun ahead here on Oneberg.
Awesome, man. Well, that's going to do it for the Three Rivers podcast for this week. We are off next week, and then we'll be back on July 31st for Steeler Camp as we move into the month.
Why are we off? Why do we need another vacation?
Another vacation, unless you want to run the show next week. This is your network, so you got the green light, my friend. If you want to go, we can change that Three Rivers podcast, the Three Rivers podcast with Yinzer and Chief Brian Carruthers. There's no problem with that. I'll even upload it to Spotify for you.
I'll think about that. Let's take a break.
We'll be back on the 31st with Steeler Camp coverage, and we roll into our Steeler coverage as well. Brian and I, just a quick announcement, we'll be back this fall for our Steeler postgame shows as well here on Oneberg. So that'll be exciting. We had a lot of fun last year with that as we get serious for a little bit, and then we get a little bit crazy too, right? We bring on some different guests, I'm trying to think of some of the names that we had on last year. I want to say Steely McBeam. Boy, that would be huge if we can get him on.
McBeam. Well, Well, Steely McBeam's a jabroni, but we had Pittsburgh Steely,
That's
Steeler
it. That's
Jesus,
the
I
name.
thought joined us.
That's right.
You know who's missing in action that we have to find out where he's at is Pittsburgh Batman. He had like a surgery. I'm worried that he might be dead.
Oh, gee, we got to check in with him. He was one of our most popular guests.
Yes, he
Man,
was.
we're going to try to get
We're
this.
looking forward to it.
The Steeler Pope. We had Steeler Nation from Mexico and Australia on with us. It was an exciting year, and we'll do more this year.
Can't wait. Thank you, buddy.
All right, we'll be back on the 31st. That's going to do it for our broadcast for this week for the Three Rivers podcast. He's Brian Carruthers. I'm Ed Troop. We'll see you in 2 weeks.